And then if they join, then at least they can join. Right. Cool. I should put some tunes on. Okay. Right. I will have to adjust the volume. If it works. Cool. So welcome to class. And we have a very special moon this week. So I think some of my flow in my head is inspired by the moon, where we take our breathing and the movement just a little slower. But then I've also added in a little bit of flow at the beginning. Hopefully you'll enjoy. And I thought we'd start off with a little breathing exercise that we can do to connect the body and the breath, and also something that, and this is, I'm just going to pause that for the moment, something that can help us. So it's a tool in your toolbox during the day, during the working day, wherever you are, if you just need to reset and calm. And some of you will have come across this. It's called the box breath. And what it is, it's a 4-part breath. So if you imagine a square, it's an inhale. So we inhale for 4. And please, if you are prone to hyperventilation, then sometimes it can send you into a bit like, oh, okay. So if that's you, then just take this opportunity just to connect with your normal breath. If you want to try it, you're very welcome to. So we inhale. The inhale, we just count for 4. So the kind of the cue would be inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. And we hold the breath. We hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Then we exhale the breath 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we hold the breath 4, 3, 2, 1. It's called a box breath. And it's something you can just do a couple of times. And it just gives you a reset. So if you want to try it, you can join me. If you don't want to, then just take a seat and just take a pause and connect with your own inhale and exhale as you would do naturally. So we're just going to find a seated position. Just allow that kind of length through the spine. I'm actually remembered my blanket today, so I'm feeling nice and tall. So if you have one, just use it. Just prop your hips up on it, and then just allow the shoulders to gently relax. And if you find yourself you're leaning forward slightly, just allow yourself to just come back a little bit. So you're using the spine to support you. And as you come back just a little bit, you'll probably feel kind of the lower back, the inner thighs start to kind of engage a bit. And then we're going to take a lovely inhale, just a normal big inhale. And a big exhale, just let the breath go. And we're going to do that again with an inhale. And an exhale. And then we're going to start a box breath if you wish to join. So we inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale normally. Take a nice big inhale. Let it go on an exhale. And just let the breath settle. How did that feel? Interesting? Do you want to try it again? I'll try and get the instructions the right way around. It takes so much concentration. So take a nice big inhale. So, and the exhale, just let the exhale go. And then inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. And then just take a gentle inhale and let the breath just return to normal. And it's just a simple tool that's there for you. If you're trying to remember, just think of the sides of the square, think of the inhale, the hold, the exhale, the hold, and just keep going around the box. And it can bring you right back into the present, right back away from that stress, and it can then help you focus and not have that kind of vision that gets like narrow as we get more and more kind of into something. So anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. And take a moment for a wee stretch here on the mat. So we're going to just take the left arm down and inhale the right arm all the way up. And then wherever that feels comfy, bring that across, whether that's forward or across, keeping the chest open. Wherever is comfy for you, bring that hand all the way back and then draw that arm behind you. So you're really even take a gaze to the hand if you wish. Bring that hand back down to the mat. Inhale the opposite hand. So lifting the left hand. Again, exhaling. So you're coming across if you wish. And then draw that elbow back. So we're opening the chest, stretching through. Maybe take a gaze at the hand if you want to. And then take the hand all the way back up. And all the way back down again. Bring the hands across the body. So bring the hands so they're just sat on the knees. And as we inhale, we're going to open and expand. And as we exhale, we're going to round the spine, seated cat. So tuck the chin into the chest, engage the core. And take a moment here. You can breathe in this pose. And then on your next inhale, bring the hands all the way back. Bring yourself into that big cactus arm pose, opening the chest and allow the scapula just to gently come together. You can take the gaze up, but you can also take the neck long and stretch down the back of the neck. So it's depending how you feel. Hands interlaced in front of us. And then again, round the back. So rounding the spine, chin tucking into chest. And then bring yourselves all the way forwards. So the hands are going to come to the mat. And we're going to roll over, bring the knees underneath you. If you've got a blanket, just pop it to one side. And then really think about those knees being underneath the hip points, the hands, just fingers into the mat. And just allow yourself just to come to stack back position. Now, Rachel, I would bring your hands just gently out slightly. That's it. Okay, brilliant. And then imagine you are screwing a jam jar open, okay, with your hands. You know, you have to kind of open it slightly. Take a fraction of a turn, just little turn. That's it. What that does, it kind of suctions the hands and then push into the fingertips. So your fingers are pushing forwards. So the index finger is turning forwards. Hands are just, we try and keep the weight off the wrist, but it's really important to have the correct pose. So Lauren, your hands are in. Do you see your first fingers are pointing at each other? Turn your first fingers to the top of the mat. It's one simple thing that we need to do. That's it. And now, when we push into the mat, can you push into your fingertips and kind of claw the fingertips? Push the forearms together and can you feel across the shoulders? them engage. Take the gaze down and then soften the elbows here. Drop the belly, look forwards, inhale, we're going to come into cow. And then exhale, take your time to get here. We're going to exhale, round spine, tuck the chin into the chest, push away gently. You can even tuck toes if you want an extra stretch through the ankles. And then drop all the way back into cow. So we drop the belly, we look forwards, we look up. And take this in your own time and also take movement with this. So I encourage you to, when we go into a practice at the beginning, when we're flexing the spine, go at your own pace. You know how you're feeling. It might be that you want to stretch and you want to just circle the hips in this pose. It might be that you really want to arch the back and you can bring the fingertips into this and you can really bring the chin all the way in and you can really engage the core and stretch and arch away. So we're moving back and forwards in this pose. And then wherever you are, come back to that stack back position, drop the hips to the heels, walk the hands forwards and come into a fairly active child's pose with the arms here. Bring your awareness back to that breath, so that inhale and the exhale, filling the sides of the body and the back. And then walk your hands towards you. And we're up onto our heels. Hopefully this is comfy for the knees. If it's not, then you can just tuck the toes behind you and take a bit of pressure. Or if you've got a blanket, you can pop it behind you and sit on a blanket. And that always takes the pressure off the knees. So just a couple of hints there. We're going to drop the hands, drop your left hand down all the way to the mat. Engage the right hand all the way up. And then take just a gentle side body stretch, keeping the chest open. Draw that hand all the way back down and we can just flow back and forwards. And here you can maybe get a stretch all the way down the side of the body. Depending, you can then move the arm as well. So again, making the practice your own. Working with that breath. Back and forwards, that's it. All the way back to center. And we're going to lift up onto our knees. Again, you know, not choosing the blanket, but you can put a blanket under the knees as well. Keep the knees underneath the hip points. We're going to sweep all the way up, just a very gentle camel variation. And then keep your right hand stretched up to the sky and take your left hand, peel it away to the left ankle. Bring that hand all the way back up, lift all the way to the sky. Maybe hands come together into prayer. Maybe it's comfier on your shoulders if they don't. And then peel the other hand, your right hand away from you, behind you. Sweep all the way back up. And exhale as the hand comes all the way back down to the heel. Keep the core just gently engaged. So we're not locking the core. All the way, sweep the hands back up. Maybe the gaze comes to the thumbs. Maybe it's comfier on the neck to look through. And then draw the hand gently behind you. All the way back up. And then bring the hands all the way to the mat. We're going to come to downward facing dog. So we looked at this a wee bit last week. So place your hands again, concentrating on placing the thumb, the first finger, and then pressing into the fingertips. Tuck the toes, keeping the knees really generously bent. We're going to lift the hips, lift the sit bones. And what that does, bending the knees, it allows us to bring our hips up high, feet shoulder width apart. And then gradually, think about the hands on the mat, push the forearms together, engaging the shoulders. Keep breathing, lift and engage the core, belly to spine.
Take a breath. Maybe the knees bend a little and the sit bones rise a little bit more. Maybe they don't. Maybe you start to allow a little weight into the feet, but don't force the feet to the mat. And then if you're pushing your arms gently together, that should give enough space for you to allow your neck to relax and look through the knees. So your drishti is through the knees and beyond. A drishti is a concentration point. And take a breath. And then pedal the feet. Come up to tiptoes even. Come back all the way down to heels. Bend the knees, look forwards, and then step all the way to the top of the mat into fold. Into this forward fold. Allow yourself into Uttanasana by just allowing the knees to bend if you need. And we're going to push into the feet, soften the knees, engage the core, sweep the hands all the way and sunburst all the way up. Lifting up and then hands gently to the heart. Take a moment into Tadasana. So we're just going to draw the shoulders down. Take a moment to find our feet. You need to wiggle your feet, ankles, sort your leggings out. Absolutely fine. Take a sip of water. And then find our balance here. So really think about connecting with the ground. Really think about how your heels are on the mat. Take a moment. And then sweep the hands all the way upward. Bring the hands gently together. Leave the left hand at the top and peel the right hand all the way down. And then just gently curve to the side. Just a side stretch here. Bring the hand all the way back up. Peel the opposite hand all the way down. Take a little side stretch. And then all the way back up. And then we're going to come to that holding the moon. So imagine a big moon in your hands. So lifting up. And just for a wee bit of balance, someone went wrong with their badminton. There's a shuttlecock up there impaled. Come up onto the heels. We were talking about balance earlier. Maybe the gaze comes forward. Soften the shoulders down a little, engage the core. Don't try and stretch onto the heels. Just where they're soft, where they're balancing. Can you hold that pose? Doesn't matter if the answer is no. Just work between the two. Hands are going to come all the way to the heart. Take an inhale. We're going to exhale, fold, work through a little sun salutation sequence into Uttanasana. We're going to go to Ardha Uttanasana, flat back, so hands become below above the shin, or if you prefer, onto the mat, stretching through the back of the legs. Little variations here. Fold again into Uttanasana. Leave the left foot at the front of the mat, step the opposite foot back into a low lunge, placing the knee on the mat and sweep the hands all the way. You can untuck that toe at the back, sweep the hands up, lift out of the hips, and then take a moment all the way back again. So stretch forwards, so you can feel that kind of stretch through the hips. Place the hands, lift the knee. We're coming to plank. So stepping all the way back to plank. Now in plank, that's it. So we keep the front body kind of pushes up into the back body, but we keep our body in line, our hips in line. Keep the knees down if you need to soften the pose. Push into the heels, gaze to the front of the mat. And then either take your own vinyasa, or you can take knees down and come to Bhujangasana, to cobra. So we come all the way down to the mat, roll the feet out, tuck the chin in, inhale, lift, cobra. Exhale all the way down, push all the way up to downward facing dog. So we bend the knees, lift the hips, draw our hips up high, find a moment here. And go through your little checklist. Hands, forearms together to engage the shoulders, core, knees, feet, and then relax that neck.
Now you've got lots of options to get to the front of the mat. So your option might be, because we want the opposite foot now at the front of the mat, might be bending your knees, looking forwards and hopping. It might be stepping. It might be that you've got practice where you come up to tripod and then you lift the knee all the way forwards, bringing your left foot forwards. You might have that practice as well. Hoiking is absolutely allowed. Okay, it is a verb in a yoga class where your leg gets stuck. And then roll up all the way to Uttanasana, into fold, into flat back. Exhale all the way down. And then sweep all the way back up, sunburst. Hands to the heart. Inhale, lift all the way up. Exhale, folding. Now I'm swan diving. You can take your arms forwards if that's what you're used to. Inhale, flat back. We're going to come to low lunge on the opposite side. So the opposite foot now stays at the front of the mat into low lunge. It's your right foot, I think now. Bring that knee down. That knee is just gently behind you. So we get a slightly different low lunge. We get a quadricep stretch and a hip stretch. Push into that heel to lift you up, lifting the hips up. Inhale, crescent moon. And then we come forwards, take a moment just to stretch through the hip, tuck the toe at the back, and then lift into your plank pose. Keeping the hips then in line with the body. That's it. And feet in line with your hips about. Take a little vinyasa. That's just a sequence of movements together. Now you might want to bring the knees down like we've been doing. Or you might want to shift the weight forwards and come down to this little chaturanga, but it requires quite a lot of shoulder strength. And then we flick the toes, come up to up dog. So if that's difficult for you because you're like, oh, I haven't done that before, then we will go through that. Meet in downward facing dog from your cobra, your bhujangasana or your up dog into downward facing dog. I'm going to choose to step up to the top of the mat by bending my knees, looking forwards and taking a wee hop into Uttanasana. And then sweep forwards, maybe the hands come all the way forwards and up, and hands to the heart. So just by doing a couple of sequences, you can feel the heat now in the body. Just starting to warm up the body. Choose where you want your feet. We're going to work in chair, so you can bring the toes together if you want to, or you can keep them still hip width apart. So we're going to sweep the hands forwards, and as we sweep the hands forwards and up, we're going to sink at the knees and sink at the hips. So pushing the hips back and really feeling the sole of the foot engage with the mat. If it's comfy on the arms, then they can stay here. If not, you can bring hands to the heart. And in Utkatasana, we're just going to play with this pose. You'll be pleased to know. We're going to bring the hands, sweep them behind us, and we're going to lift up onto the heels. They're kind of thinking about that balance again. And then draw the hands forward, sink the heels. Sweep the hands and then think about lifting the heels. Work the legs. And then sweep the hands forwards again. We're going to do that one last time. And then sweep the hands behind. Just allow the heels to come off. If the legs shake the way up, back into chair. Bring the hands all the way to the heart. And then push through the heels and lift all the way up. And just give the legs a little wobble if you need. There's a little bit of me that likes to add in maybe something that helps with our strength. It's not all about stretching in yoga. What we're aiming to do is create strength and create the flexibility and move
with the breath to then go deeper into our asanas, which are our poses. So by adding a few little challenges in there, which is a play, so it's not traditional yoga, but it's a play with what we can do, it then builds the strength as part of your practice. It's also quite good fun. So it keeps us healthy, keeps us moving. So take a moment, and then we're going to sweep lift, upward salute. Keep the arms soft, but see if you can just turn the little fingers in very slightly, and the pecs, okay? Just see if you can switch them on by just turning the pinkies in very slightly. Are you feeling a little bit of engagement in the pecs there? So it's a good thing if you are. So when we sweep the hands all the way up gently, and we turn them the pinkies gently in, we're turning on the big muscles. Or we could just sweep the hands up and let the arms kind of hang. But just that little activation. Hands come to the heart. We're going to fold, so bend the knees and then fold forwards. Take a moment in forward fold. So weight over the feet. Inhale, flat back. Exhale all the way back down. We're going to leave your right foot at the front of the mat and step back again to low lunge, but a runner's lunge this time. Okay. Take a moment in runner's lunge with the gaze forwards. Bring the knee all the way down. Sweep the hands all the way back. Exhale them all the way forwards. Bring the knee up. And then see if you can bring the hands to the heart. Now you might just stay here, or you might take your elbow across to the knee. And you might even take it slightly beyond and catch the back of your elbow on the back of the knee. If it's uncomfortable, keep the pose forwards. And if you're wobbling all over the place, take that back foot out a little bit. All the way back to center. Drop that back foot so it's at an angle. You go, oh, phew. Okay. And then push through the front leg. Don't lock that knee. So don't lock it back, but push through the heel, which will engage your muscles. Step up a little bit if you need. We're in pyramid pose here. Options, you can keep the hands at the heart to come forwards and halfway down. If you have a practice where you have reverse prayer hands, you can either bring, I'll show you this here. You can either bring your hands to your forearms, and as we come down, you can allow them just to settle. Or you may have a practice where you bring your hands to reverse prayer, but it depends on your shoulders. Please don't force anything, okay? And the idea with the reverse prayer is we get them up into the middle of the back. So we kind of open our hands and then close them. But it's wherever you're comfy. And then push through the heel, lift all the way up. Sweep the hands now forwards and drop into the front knee. So just very gently here. So we've got a gentle warrior one here, Virabhadrasana one. You can choose to come down to the mat to child's pose, or you can take a vinyasa flow so we can press the hands, step to plank. If you don't want to go through the vinyasa flow, you can skip these by just taking a wee child's pose. Okay? So in plank, we're either going to bring the knees down to the mat, come to Bhujangasana, to Cobra, or pretend you're going down like Concorde. The chest comes forwards to the mat. We flip the toes before we actually contact, and we keep the hips up and off, which is up dog. I'll go through it, don't worry, we'll get there. Roll the feet wherever you are, and either you're in child's pose or you've come up into downward facing dog, and you're moving from child's pose to downward facing dog. We now need our opposite foot to go to
the front of the mat. So that's our left foot. So you can walk or hop, or you can engage the right foot and lift that left up and forwards in a tripod. So it comes back to the front of the mat. Lots of different ways. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Left foot's now going to stay at the top of the mat and step your right foot back to that runner's lunge. Gaze forwards. Brilliant. Excellent. Take a little low lunge and then sweep the hands, crescent moon, low lunge. Sweep the hands back again, bring them to framed foot, and we're going to step the knee back up off the mat. Now, using the whole of the foot, not kind of tucking the toes, lift up and bring the hands to prayer. You might want to just gently engage the core here as you push the heels of the hands together. You can stay here. If that's hard enough, that's fine. And if you're not keen on twists, because some people are not, and if not, you can inhale and take that arm across so that you come into a little revolved twist here. Now, it depends on how you're feeling the twists, a bit like Marmite. So keep breathing in this pose. And then bring all the way back to center. If you want to at this point, as we move the angle of that back foot, you can step it up slightly and then drop the heel. So the foot's facing to the side, slightly forwards. Push through that front leg. Engage the calf muscle. Here we are in pyramid. Hands can still come forwards or they can come to the back, which is a nice chest opener as well. And as we do, we fold forwards on an exhale. And you can keep coming towards the mat and then allow the head just to rest. And again, use the breath here, so don't hold on to that breath. And then inhale, sweep the hands forwards, bend into the knee very slightly, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale, hands to the heart, and then turn that back foot as we step to the front of the mat. Just checking my time. Oh, not so bad tonight. I think I've worked you a little bit, I think you get to know a class and you get used to folk and you get used to me. So that's good. Excellent. So what we're going to do, we're going to play with a little flow inspired by a moon salutation. Now, you have lots of room in here, and I have the luxury of having a mat across the way so that you can see me, because we are going to work across the mat. So you've got some options here. You can just twist your mat around and you can work facing me, or you can just rely on the angle you are so you can see me, or you can just listen to my instructions. So I'm going to work across the way. You can twizzle your mat if you want to. That's it. It's quite nice. I couldn't used to do this in my yoga classes because there'd be like 20 people stacked. So there are some benefits to COVID. There we are. You get more space. So we're going to start off in the center of our mat, and we're going to place our feet. Now, they can be fairly close together, so it's not reliant on balance. What it is relying on is you just feeling that grounding through the mat. Lift up through that front body and allow the heels to weight. So just feel a little bit of heaviness in the heels. Relax the shoulders. That's it. Okay. Interlace the thumbs. And as we do, we're going to we always soften the knees to go up, a little bit of bounce. We inhale and we lift all the way through the front body. And we take some breaths here. Wherever your neck is comfy is the answer as to where you're looking. And then as we come across, we're going to go to the right hand side first. We're going to inhale up and we come across and forwards On an exhale, take a breath here. Inhale all the way back up. And then exhale across the other way. Just taking a breath in these poses. And then all the way back up. Now we're going to release the hands and bring them out to the side and step out wide into a star pose. When we bring the arms, open the chest slightly, you should feel the shoulder blades just gently engage and really engage the toes and the feet. As with any yoga pose, we don't lock that knee backwards. So push into heels allows you to kind of engage the thighs. You're going, oh, this is, stop talking. It's fine, engage the core. And as we now sink, the toes are pointing out the way. We're going to bring the hands into goddess pose. So 90 degrees, I always have to have a quick check, and then sink as if you're sliding down a glass wall. Imagine a wall behind you. So the tailbone is neutral underneath you, rather than a gym squat where we would push behind us into the pose. All the way back up into five-pointed star. We're going to take a big inhale. As we take a big inhale, we're going to come across to our right-hand side. So you fold across to your right-hand side. I'm confusing you, Lisanne, tonight because I started mirroring in class again. Probably should have warned you. And just breathe into the stretch here. As we inhale, we lift all the way back up to five-pointed star, push through the heels, lift all the way up. And exhale across to the other side. Take a moment here. And then we're going to turn that left foot to the kind of short edge of the mat. Doesn't matter where you are. And then that back foot's going to turn gently to the side of the mat in a Virabhadrasana. Okay, brilliant. We're going to open up now. As we open up, we're going to come to Virabhadrasana 2. We're going to sink into the knee, open up, allow the shoulders to drop behind us, keep the tailbone tucked under us. Keep that line from the belly button all the way to the crown of the head. So Becky, just forwards very slightly. That's it. Excellent. Relax the shoulders. Brilliant. Now what we're going to do, we're going to push into the heels, push and lift that knee and draw ourselves, keeping the sides of the body nice and long, gently with the palms facing out into Trikonasana. Now hover the hand, that's it. Don't come all the way down to the mat unless you have a full practice. That's a lovely pose, Becky. Good, Kim. And what that's doing is we want to open the chest. We want to peel the chest open, which allows that shoulder at the top to then come up. Wherever the gaze is comfy, it might be down. Frame the foot again and turn now to little runner's lunge before we drop into low lunge. Sweep the arms into low lunge, lift up high. Bring the hands all the way down, bring the knees together. So underneath the hip bones. So we now bring ourselves up, sweep up into a camel variation. Draw the hands behind you now to Balasana, to child's pose. Take a moment here in child's pose. Sweep all the way back up to a camel variation. Now, as we bring our hands down, we had our right foot at the top of the mat. Did we know left foot, sorry. So we're now going to bring our right foot into low lunge. So this is kind of, we mandala around the mat a bit. We move around the mat. Inhale, lift, crescent moon lunge. Exhale the arms, frame the foot. We're going to step that back foot up, coming all the way back
into a warrior two. Now you're facing a different way. That's okay. Trust the voice. I promise. Is that not what the snake said in Jungle Book? So we're in Virabhadrasana 2. And then push through that front heel. We're going to straighten that leg. We're going to come to Trikonasana. So we're going to just lift all the way up and hover. Push all the way back up to warrior two. Gaze is over that front hand. Bend into that front knee. Wherever you are, turn the feet to the side of the mat so that you're now 5-pointed star. We're going to turn the other way to the other short edge of the mat. Turn the other foot to the other edge of the mat. So we're now going a different way. Excellent. Other short edge, opposite one. And we're going to come into Virabhadrasana 2. Push all the way to Trikonasana, straighten the leg, lift the arm up. Open the chest. Frame the foot as you come forwards into that runner's lunge, turning that back foot so you're on your starter block. In preparation for low lunge and Janyasana, inhale, lift, low lunge, crescent moon. Exhale, frame that foot again. Step all the way up. Bring yourself all the way back to the side of the mat, so where you're facing, into Uttanasana. Inhale, flat back here. Exhale, all the way back down into a fold. And then step, facing the class where we were, all the way right at the beginning into 5-pointed star. Exhale into goddess pose, sink down that wall. Inhale, lift all the way up. We're going to exhale across to the right-hand side. So we draw all the way across into a little side stretch, wide fold, side stretch. Inhale all the way back to star. Exhale across to the other side. Inhale all the way back up to goddess. Draw yourself, goddess arms. Take a little, I often do this, my front one arm comes forwards. Just take a little note of where you are. Bring the hands gently to the heart. We're still in a little temple pose here now. And then as we push through the heels, we're going to lift all the way up. Now we're going to turn the toes gently in. This is the stance we use to come into wide fold. Okay, so goddess toes turned out. Wide fold is a forward fold effectively. So we engage the core, we soften the knees and allow yourself to come halfway. So we're not leading with the head, we're leading with the whole body. So the head's in line. Tuck the chin very gently. Soften the knees even more. If you want to, you can come all the way down, let the head hang and bring the hands to the mat. Keep your weight over the kind of the feet. Brilliant. Depending on where you are with your practice, you can play with this. So you can allow quite a wide stance. You can bring your forearms to the mat. You can play. It's a stretch here. If it's really like, oh, I'm working, just still getting to the mat, that's fine. Just explore maybe the fingertips, and that just lifts you up a little bit here. Wherever you are. Take a breath here. And then gently pushing through the heels, we're going to bring the hands maybe all the way back up and push and lift the body back up in one. Back to standing and either heel, toe, or hop back to the center of the mat. And this is what is great about giving you the autonomy to bring your practice to this, because I'm just seeing, Becky, you've got I can't remember, is it variation 4? there's different variations of wide fold, and I'm not very good at naming them all, but I know them all. So it's lovely to see different variations, and that's why we come to a yoga class, as you can do. And if you know something, you think, oh, I don't do it that way, I take my hands this way, and that's what I'm used to, do that. It's your class, so I'm giving you the instructions that I'm used to, but I'm also aware that we can bring the hands forwards in an upward lift. So if you've got practice yourself, bring it to class. It's not an issue. I don't expect yoga robots. It really is. It's what suits you. So we're back to the front of the mat. We're going to inhale Utkatasana, inhale, and then sink all the way back down. Now you can bring hands to the heart if you wish. I've probably set you up here with your feet quite close together, but we'll go for it. What we're going to do, we're going to step the left foot back into a high lunge pose. And of course, you're all on your mat sideways now. Right, that's fine. We'll do that. We'll do sideways. Excellent. We'll do a mandala practice. Here we go. Off we go. Now I've definitely gone off piste. Right, now bring your hands down to your heart. Bring your knee all the way down into low lunge. Untuck the toes. Inhale, crescent moon arms. Bring the hands forwards, frame the foot. We're going to take a little vinyasa here, step to plank. And then your choice. So knees might come down and we come all the way to cobra, Bhujangasana, or you might have up dog. Exhale all the way back down to the mat. Lift all the way up to downward facing dog. So lift the hips all the way up high. Take a breath here. Now you're going to anchor. What foot are you going to anchor? I'm looking at you. Or you're all going to, actually, we're going to anchor our left foot. We're going to lift our right foot up high into tripod. So three-legged dog. We're going to open the hip if you wish to. Sometimes that's not keen. So we're just opening the hip a little so the foot comes towards, but keep the weight in the hands even. We're going to bring that right foot all the way forwards, lift it up into the body and bring it to that runner's lunge. At the front, excellent. Drop the back heel, open to Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Excellent. This is where you need to trust me. We're going to turn to the side of the mat you can't see anybody into a little kind of 5-pointed star again. Draw down into Goddess. Back up into 5-pointed star. And now your other foot's going to come to the other side of the mat and we're going to sink into Virabhadrasana 2. Sweep the hands forwards into Virabhadrasana 1. Lift up into Warrior 1. Draw the hands to frame the foot. You are now in runner's lunge. So that back foot, excellent, is facing forwards. Drop the knee, Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Lift up the hands all the way up. Take them to frame that foot again. Step into a plank pose. Your choice here. So you might bring the knees down, or you might come into little Chaturanga Dandasana and then flick the toes into up dog. So it's what you're comfortable with, and we can unpick that for those who are new to it. Meeting in downward facing dog, flicking the toes. Taking a breath here. And then step to the middle of the mat, bring the feet together. Bring your hands walking into Uttanasana, into forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale all the way down. And then sweep the hands forward, softening the knees, lift all the way up, upward, and hands to the heart. Turning to face the class. And then take Tadasana. So that was a very impromptu mandala. Mandala practice is what you've just done. It's when we literally turn on the mat. You can make them as creative as you want to. And then what you can do, you can also add poses into a short sequence. So you build something up called a ladder flow. So your sequence gets even more creative. It gets to the point where me as the class teacher has to have the instructions at the back of the mat, because you then think like, what did I do? So there we are. I'm introducing you to maybe a new concept, maybe not. And we've got lots of time, that's still fine. So well done for bearing with me on that one. Do you want to turn your mats back round so that you're facing class? And I think it's probably, take a moment, come back into seated, because sometimes it's nice to, and yeah, grab some water. Sometimes it's nice just to check in a little bit with our practice and the vinyasa sequence. So that's a number of movements that connect, and then they connect to asanas. So vinyasa krama is a practice of flow. There's choices for you, and I'm seeing some who've got quite a solid practice and some who are learning, which is fine. When we come into that vinyasa, your plank, I do it this way. Try to keep the hands underneath the shoulders, engage the core so it kind of lifts, the front body lifts, pushing into the heels. Try not to lift the hips up, so you get a relatively kind of length from the heels all the way to the crown of the head. So my gaze is forwards rather than under me. So that's kind of that first point. If that plank's really hard for you, and that's fine, bring the knees down to soften it, because you're still engaging the core, okay? Then this is where the choices are happening. So for those who are still working on shoulder strength and core strength, I don't want you to wreck your shoulders. So I'm encouraging you to bring the knees down, lift the hips slightly back, engage the core, and that you kind of lead with your nose into Bhujangasana. It's not the same as Chaturanga Dandasana, and it's not one that you would practice to get there, but it builds your strength. So the two are different, okay? They're different vinyasas. But it helps. And then you lift your hips and come up to downward facing dog. And it's probably the less strenuous on your shoulders if you haven't developed your core strength, or you don't want to. I've got some yogis who've got a shoulder injury, so to bring the knees down is a much softer way, and we don't want to hurt body. You may have a practice where you can come down to the mat, still to Bhujangasana, but you can shift forwards into Chaturanga Dandasana, where you're hovering. It's a really strong pose. I'm not best at it. And then you can flick the toes and come up into up dog. The difference being, you can see that I'm now pushing strongly into the arms and the chest, and then my thighs are off. So in Bhujangasana, cobra, pushing away and lifting. The pelvis is still engaged just, and I'm lifting the chest. Two different poses, up dog and Bhujangasana are different. We can play with that as we develop class. If you've got a full pose, you can choose where you want to go with it. Okay, it was just a little teaching point, so you don't walk away from class thinking, what was that? And the reason why I say in the plank, there was an instruction for yoga teachers very much to shift the weight forwards and then come down, but the pressure it puts on the shoulders is huge. So if you imagine Concorde landing, I like that vision, see, and you imagine you're landing with your chest, or EasyJet, whatever you choose, you can then, it's easier because you're gliding the body down and then working into that. So are there any questions at all? Or do you comments, or are you okay? You're all okay with that? Brilliant. Right, so you've had a rest. I'm still hot. We're going to come all the way down to the mat. And on our way, just come to seated. And I always like to take a little variation of boat. So you can just keep the core engaged and then just soften slightly. Use the arms to open the chest, engage the core. You can come into half boat if you wish, or you can keep your feet on the mat. Or you can come into full boat. And I will shake. There we are. Wherever you're comfy. And you can play with this. You can kind of come into low boat. It's a high boat. You can hold a little mini dog and do some threading. You can thread a block. There's lots of things you can do. Again, working on that core strength, but don't hurt your lower back. And if you are, just come up and just take a little stretch. And then allow yourself space to come down to the mat. And allow yourself to come all the way, gently engaging the core. So coming down as slowly as you can, all the way down. And then take a moment here. So you can, if you want to, bring the feet just as wide as the mat, knees together. And just allow yourself a moment. Just a moment to relax here. Just letting the spine just curve naturally. Just noticing the breath. And then maybe draw the knees into the chest. Maybe rolling the knees if you wish. And then bring the feet down to the mat with the knees bent. So the soles of the feet down to the mat, knees bent. Knees in line with the hip points. We're going to come up to bridge. So we're going to lift up the hips and allow space between the chin and the chest. Push into the soles of the feet. Make sure the knees are not kind of coming out the way. So keep them in line with the body. If you want to and you have space behind you, you can take the hands behind you if you wish and stretch the arms out. If you don't, it's not essential. And then draw all the way back. Allow the back gently to return to the mat. And we're going to take a gentle relaxation in a minute. Just before we do that, if you want to, you can just walk those knees back and forwards. It gives you a little kind of roll of the spine. So you can take a little supine twist here. And then maybe come back to that constructive rest pose. And if you want to, and you have a blanket, you can grab your blanket and come into Shavasana. If you're cooling down, just pop a layer on. And I'm just going to take you through just a wee guided relaxation. So just get yourself comfy, maybe just drawing the shoulder blades just gently underneath you. Maybe the knees are bent, or maybe the legs are outstretched. It doesn't matter. You might be in reclined butterfly. Wherever you are, just take a moment just to settle the body. Just become aware of the backs of the heels or the contact points of the soles of the feet. aware of where you're connecting with your yoga mat. And allow those places to feel heavy. Allow the backs of the arms to feel like they're really relaxed. Feel the back of the shoulders on the mat, back of the head, softening the jaw, softening the eyes. And then just bring your awareness to your own breath, how that feels, just the rise and fall of the breath. Awareness of sounds beyond the yoga mat. And then bring that awareness back to that gentle inhale and exhale, that natural breath. And then very slowly just bring some movement to the toes. Bring movement to the fingers. And really slowly, and only when you're ready, move just onto your right hand side and just pause. Just allowing yourself just the time. And then even if you wish, with the eyes still softened, you're very welcome just to join me back in seated in Sukhasana whenever you're ready, just very slowly. And taking a moment, just bringing the hands together. Just feeling the heat of the palms. I'm going to just gently rub the hands together. And then bring the heels of the hands gently to the eyes. Bringing the hands back to the heart. And thank you very much for joining class tonight. Thank you. I'll just switch that off recording so that those who haven't managed to make it. There we are. And